A lateral dumbbell raise is a very effective exercise for targeting the deltoid muscle, and that's why a lot of people use it for that. However, at the same time, this movement can cause a lot of issues, especially for people who are newer to lifting and newer to the gym. Now, because it isolates the movement of shoulder abduction, it doesn't only target the deltoid, it also targets the supraspinatus muscle. Now, this is one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles, and it sits directly on top of your shoulder blade. When you lift your arm out to the side, you're using the deltoid as well as the supraspinatus muscle. Now, this specific muscle is generally the most commonly injured of the rotator cuff muscles, and it's definitely the most commonly torn muscle of all 4 muscles. Now, what this position does is it puts a lot of stress on that muscle specifically. It's a lot of stress, and it's a very small muscle by comparison to the deltoid. Now, think about it this way. In everyday life, when we're lifting our arms, do we ever do this motion specifically? Probably not, because a lateral dumbbell raise isn't exactly what we would call a functional movement. I think a better alternative to this would simply be overhead press, because an overhead press it's a functional movement that you will do every single day. I lift for things over my head all the time. However, at the same time, it's not specific to the supraspinatus and the deltoid, and because the elbow is bent, there is a lot less stress being placed on the supraspinatus muscle. At the same time, when you do an overhead press, you're not only targeting the muscles that do abduction of the shoulder, where you lift it up, but you're also targeting the muscles of the shoulder blade that help to rotate the shoulder blade, meaning that we can better lift the arm overhead, as well as strengthen the tricep muscle. So we're not just isolating 1 or 2 muscles, we're doing a functional movement that includes many muscles. So if you think about it, this lift is more efficient than doing just a lateral raise. And in my opinion, it is far less costly. I remember I saw a guy, I think it was 2 years ago, he hired a personal trainer, and that personal trainer had him do a lot of lateral raises. He came into PT because he had bilateral shoulder pain that was fairly significant, and he was having what's called impingement of the supraspinatus muscle, which is very common in people when they do this motion, especially when they're newer. If you have been doing lateral raises for a long time and you haven't had any issues with it, it's probably fine to continue. Just know that there is the theoretical risk that you can damage the supraspinatus muscle with this motion. If you are new to the gym, this is one I would most likely avoid. I myself don't do it. I prefer just to do an overhead press if I want to work on my shoulders, because I know it is a functional movement and the risk of injury is far less.